Hello guys. So in this session we are going to learn how to deploy Java Helm Chart on EKS using Jenkins Pipeline. Right. So you can see here, you can see this is my repository, GitHub repository, right? So first of all, we need to create EKS cluster, AWS EKS cluster, and then we need to install Jenkins, right? So as you can see here, I have already created EKS cluster as well as install Jenkins. So you can see this is my Jenkins dashboard, right? So you can see here my cluster name sample, right? So I have already created cluster and I have already installed Jenkins. Okay, so let's start to deploy Java Helm Chart on EKS using Jenkins pipeline. So first of all, we need to create repository, right? So as you can see, this is my GitHub repository, and in my repository, I have these few files, right? So you can see here, first of all, pom.xml, then Docker file, then git ignore, then git attributes, and this folder, right? Okay. So then you can see, so now I'm going to clone my repository, right? So I'm going to copy the HTTPS and I'm going to clone this repository into my this terminal. So as you can see, this is my instance, right? In my instance, I have installed Jenkins as well as I have already created my EKS cluster. So now I'm going to clone my repository on this instance. So as you know how to clone, so the command is git clone and paste your HTTPS. So this is our HTTPS, right? So if I run the ls command, as you can see our repository. So we have successfully cloned our repository with the name Deploy Java Helm Chart on EKS using Jenkins Pipeline. Okay. So now let's clear the screen first. And now if I run the ls command, so as you can see my repository name, right? Okay, so let's inside our repository using cd and your name of your repository, right? Now if I run the ls command, as you can see there is a files, right? Docker file, pom.xml file, and then src file. So this is our repository. Okay, now here first of all, to check, here I'm going to run mvn package. Okay, if there is error, then if there is any mistake in this repository, in this pom.xml file, then we will have a error. Okay, so let's check. So for run this mvn package, we need to install maven. Okay, so the command is like that, sudo apt install maven. So let's run this command. Okay, so it's done. Now let's clear the screen first. And now let's run mvn package. If it's correct, then we have successfully built our package. If there is any mistake, then we will have error. So let's check. So click on enter. So as you can see, it's building. Okay, so you can see we have a error. Which error you can see in source option 6 is no longer supported, use 7 or later, and then in target option also 6 is no longer supported, we will need to use 7 or later. Okay, so we need to open our pom.xml file, right? So if I run the ls command, as you can see there is a target folder, right? So first of all we need to remove this target folder because we will have a error. If I inside my target folder, as you can see there is no any war file generated, you can see, right? There is no any war file, so we need to generate our war file using mvn package command. So for that I'm going to remove my target folder first because there is no any war file generated, right? So now if I run the ls command, as you can see we have successfully removed our target file folder, right? So let's clear the screen first. And now if I run the ls command, as you can see there is no any target folder. Now let's update our pom.xml file first. So run the sudo nano and pom.xml, and here we need to update this. First of all, you can see here in source group, right? Here we need to replace this 1.6 to 1.7 or 1.8. So I'm going to replace it 1.8. and target also. And after that, here in maven war plugin, the version, here we need to replace this 2.5 version with 3.2.1 version. Okay, so here I have successfully replaced this 1.6 to 1.8 and as well as this 3.2.1. Now let's save our pom.xml file and then exit. Okay, now let's run the mvn package to generate our war file. Now if I run the ls command, as you can see, there is no any target folder right now. So let's run the command mvn package to generate our target folder. So as you can see, it's running. Okay, as you can see, build success. That means now our pom.xml file is correct. Okay, now if I run the ls command, as you can see, there is a folder target. Let's insert our target folder, and if I run the ls command, you can see we have successfully generated our war file as well as this file. This is our image hello 1.1, right? So this is our image. Okay, now we have our pom.xml file is correct, right? Okay, now let's clear the screen first. And now if I run the ls command, we have these files, right? Okay, let's clear the screen first. Now here we are going to deploy our Java Helm Chart on EKS using Jenkins Pipeline. So for that we need to install Helm Chart, right? So we need to create our Helm Chart. So for that we need to install Helm, right? So as you can see, this is the official site of Helm. So you can download for install from here. So you can see the commands to install Helm. So first of all, I'm going to use this command. I'm going to download a Helm using curl command. Then next is chmod. This is for permission. Okay. And now third for get Helm. That means to install Helm. Okay. So as you can see, it's done. If you want to check the Helm version, then run the Helm version. So as you can see your details about your Helm, right? So let's clear the screen. So we have successfully installed Helm, right? So it's time to create Helm chart. Okay. So how to create? So the command is Helm create, add your chart name. So my chart name is Java chart. So as you can see, creating, if I run the ls command, as you can see, we have a Java chart. That means this is our Helm chart. Now if I inside my Java chart, if I run the ls command, so as you can see the files, right? So we need to update these files. Okay, so let's clear the screen first. And if I run the ls command, so as you can see, we need to update these files. So first of all, let's update our values.yaml file. So let's open our values.yaml file using sudo nano and values.yaml. Okay, so here we need to update this. So where, so first of all, here image repository. So here we need to update this image repository. So here nginx, so my repository name is devops hint hyphen, and my image name is java 1.0, and the tag is latest. Okay, so this is my repository, this is my repository, right? And my repository name is DevOpsInt and my image name is Java. This is my Docker Hub repository, right? With the name DevOpsInt, and the tag is latest. After that, let's scroll down, and here we need to replace this cluster IP with load balancer. Okay, so after that, here you can see we need to replace this cluster IP with load balancer. Then port number is 80, and here we need to add target port 8080, right? So I'm going to remove this. Hmm. As you can see, the target port is 8080 and the protocol is TCP and name. So my chart name is Java chart. So that's why here I mentioned name is Java chart. So let's save this file and exit. Okay. Now the second file is, if I run the ls command, you can see the folder template. So we need to inside the template folder. And the second file is we need to update that deployment. So let's inside our deployment using sudo nano. Okay. So here we need to update this our deployment.yaml files. But where here? As you can see in container port, so there is a dot values dot service dot port, right? So we need to change with, we need to change this with this here, values dot service dot target port. So let's copy this values dot service dot target port and let's paste here. Okay, after that here you can see in path, you can see here you can see http get then path and here. So here we need to set the path hello 1.1. Why? Because this is our image name, right? If you remember, now our target folder is generated, our war file is hello.1.0.war file, right? And our image name is hello 1.0. So that's why here we need to set the path here, right? As well as here also, right? So okay, so as you can see our path name, right? Hello, hello 1.1 and as well as here. Okay, so it's done. Now let's save the file and exit. Okay, now the second file to update, the second file is service.yaml file here, right? So let's inside our service.yaml file, that means, so let's edit our service.yaml file, and here we need to update this. So I'm going to remove this name, protocol and target port. So let's remove, and here let's update this using these values. Okay, okay, so as you can see the port is values.service.port, then target port also values.service.target port, and protocol also values.service.target port, and name also values.service.target port. That means here we are going to enter the port number is in this values.yaml file, also target port, also protocol, and also the name. Okay, so let's save the file and exit. Okay, so here we are successfully updated three files. First of all, values.yaml file, and secondly, deployment.yaml file, and third one is service.yaml file. So we are successfully updated. Now let's exit, and now let's run the command. And if I run the ls command, so there is a folder Java chart, right? Okay. After that, here we need to install Docker, right? Because here we are going to build Docker image, right? As you can see, if I go to my repository, GitHub repository, you can see we have a Docker file, right? So here we are going to build Docker image, then we are going to deploy our Docker image to Docker hub, right? So that's why we need to install Docker. So as you can see in my Docker file here, you can see the target port, you can see the path. First of all, going to target folder, and this is my war file name, hello 1.0 war file, right? So here we need to install Docker. So how to install? If you don't know the command, then if I run the Docker image, so as you can see the command here. So I'm going to install Docker, right? Using this command. So yes, I want to install. So it's installing Docker. Okay. After installing Docker, we need to set some permissions to Docker, right? So which permissions? So here. So first of all, here we need to give the permission to this user mode, right? So we need to set some permissions to Docker. And then after that, the next command is that's chmod 666. So we need to give this permission to our Docker. Okay, it's done. Now let's clear the screen. Okay, now if I run the ls command, now this is our Helm chart folder, right? That means our Java chart, right? So now we need to copy this folder and paste in this our repository, right? So how to copy? So the command is sudo cp -r and that folder name that you want to copy. So my folder name is Java chart that I want to copy, and after that dot slash and that folder name that you want to paste this folder. So my folder name is, that means my repository folder name is deployment Java, sorry, deploy Java Helm Chart on EKS using Jenkins Pipeline. So let's enter. Now if I run the ls command, there is a Java chart, and if I go to my repository folder and if I run the ls command, so as you can see, there is also Java chart that we have successfully copy and paste our folder into my repository. Okay, so in my repository, I have successfully updated my pom.xml file, right? I have successfully paste my Java Helm chart, right? Now let's push this code into my repository, right? Which repository? Here in my GitHub repository, right? This is our GitHub repository. So uh, we need to push this code into my GitHub repository. So how to push? So the command is git add dot, then git commit -m, in double quote our commit. So my commit will be, okay, commit also, and let's push this code. So run the command git push. So it will ask my username. So I am going to enter my username DevOps Saint, and after that password. So I'm going to enter a password of my GitHub and enter. So as you can see, authentication failed. Why? Because here if I go run the command git push, it will ask my username. So I'm going to enter my username DevOps Hint. After that it will ask password. So in this password we need to enter the token, personal access token, right? So how to create personal access token? So go to the profile and go to the settings, and after that let's scroll down. Here you can see developer settings and personal access token. So I'm going to use classic, and here let's generate a new token and enter the password for security. So let's enter. So I'm going to enter no name Helm, right? And I'm going to select repo, then workflows, then read write package. Okay, and then click on generate token. So as you can see the note here, make sure you copy your personal access token. Now you won't be able to see it again, right? So that's why we need to copy and store. Okay, so I'm going to copy this personal access token and paste here, and now click on enter. So as you can see, we have successfully pushed this code into our repository. So now let's go to our repository and refresh the page. So as you can see, it's 2 minutes ago, Java chart, right? And it's also pom.xml 2 minutes ago, right? We have successfully updated our pom.xml file. Okay, and here we have pushed this Java chart into our repository. So okay, so we have successfully updated our repository. Okay, now the next step is now go to the Jenkins. Okay, so here we need to add some credentials here. Which credentials? So first of all, go to the manage Jenkins and go to the credentials and click on global, then click on add credentials, and here select username with password. So my username will be DevOps Saint, because here I'm going to add credentials. Which credentials? My GitHub action credentials, right? My GitHub action username and password. So I'm going to add this username. So my GitHub action username is DevOps Saint. So I'm going to add my GitHub username and password, and then I'm going to enter my GitHub password. Okay, the ID. So I'm going to enter ID GitHub credentials. Okay, so my ID will be GitHub credentials. Okay, so the click on create. You can see our ID is GitHub credentials. Okay, now it's done. Now the next credential is for Docker Hub. Okay, so how to create Docker Hub password? So click on add credentials and select secret text. For Docker Hub credentials, here I'm going to select secret text. Okay, and after that in secret I'm going to enter my Docker Hub password. Okay, and in ID I'm going to enter ID. So I'm going to enter ID DevOps hint. Okay, and click on create. Okay, so here we are successfully create two credentials. First for GitHub credentials for GitHub credential, right? And second for this DevOps hint for our Docker Hub credential. Okay, and here I'm going to select I have select my Docker Hub credentials secret text and GitHub credentials for username and password. Okay, now go to the dashboard, and now it's time to create our pipeline. So first of all, here if I go to my this deployment this my repository, so here I'm going to create files for Jenkins, right? Jenkins pipeline. So I'm going to create Jenkins pipeline file here, and here. Okay, so here we need to changes. So first of all, as you can see here, let's understand the pipeline first. Okay, so here first of all in my pipeline you can see agent any, then stage. So here we are going to clone our GitHub repository, right? So that's why here in URL I'm going to paste this URL, right? In this URL. Okay, now after that, okay, now let's understand our pipeline. Okay, so first of all here pipeline, then agent any, then stage. The stage name is clone code from GitHub. That means we are going to clone our repository, right? So you can see here checkout, then branch name is main, and here you can see GitHub credentials. That means in my Jenkins, our credential name is GitHub credentials for GitHub, right? That means username and password. The ID is GitHub credentials. So that's why here I mentioned GitHub credential. That means my ID name. Then URL. You can see the URL. This is our GitHub URL, right? Okay. Now then, after clone my repository, here I'm going to run this mvn package for generating my target folder, for generating my war file, right? So we need to run this mvn package to generate our war file. Then here we are going to build our Java Docker image. So you can see the command is sh docker build -t, and this is my repository name DevOps Saint, and my image name is Java 1.0. Then we are going to deploy our Docker image to Docker Hub, right? So the command is, you can see here credentials. So my credential ID is DevOps hint for GitHub credentials, right? And you can see the command to push this, sorry, to deploy this Docker image. So the Docker login, then DevOps hint -p, and also DevOps hint. That means this is my credentials. Okay. Then you can see we are going to push this Docker image to our Docker Hub, right? Then after that, in last stage, you can see deploying Java Helm Chart on EKS. So you can see the command. So first of all, here AWS EKS update kubeconfig -name sample and then region name. Then kubectl get ns, and then helm install Java and dot slash, and this is our chart name, Java chart name, right? So my chart name is Java chart. That's why here I mentioned Java chart. So this is our pipeline. So let's click on commit changes. So here I have successfully created my pipeline, sorry, Jenkins file, right? Now I'm going to copy my Jenkins pipeline code and now go to the Jenkins. Now, so here click on new item and enter your pipeline name. So my pipeline name will be Java and select pipeline and click on OK. And after that, here select GitHub project. In GitHub project, we need to enter our project URL. So our project URL is here, right? That means our GitHub URL. So I'm going to copy my GitHub URL and paste here. Okay. Then after that, let's scroll down and here let's enter your pipeline script. So my pipeline script is here. So I'm going to copy my pipeline script and paste here. Right? Okay. So it's done. Before click on apply and save here, you can see in last stage. Last stage is deploying Java Helm Chart on EKS, right? And here you can see script AWS EKS update kubeconfig hyphen name sample region and our region name. Then here in this AWS, right? That means here in Jenkins we need to configure our AWS, right? So that's why here go to the terminal and here we need to configure our Jenkins. So first of all we need to switch to Jenkins user using sudo su Jenkins, and here we need to configure our AWS. So run the command AWS configure and enter the access key ID, and here is our access key ID. Let's copy the access key ID and paste here. Then secret access key ID. So here's our secret access key ID. Then our region name is AP South 1. Okay. So we have successfully configured our AWS. Sorry, Jenkins, right? Okay. Now let's click on apply and now go to the Java. That means our pipeline. Click on build now. And now let's check. So as you can see, it's building. You can see we have the first stage is clone code from GitHub, so it's done. Now the next stage is MVN. Now that means we are running this MVN package to generate our war file, .war file. That means our target folder. So it's also succeed. Now the next step is build Java Docker image. So here we are going to building our Java image. So wait for few seconds. It's running. It's in progress. So as you can see, so it's also done. Now the next stage is deploy Docker image to Docker Hub, right? So it's in progress. You can see. So you can see it succeed. Okay. It's also success to deploy Docker image to Docker Hub. Now the next and last step is deploying Java Helm Chart on EKS. So as you can see, it's also success. If I go to my console output, so as you can see the output, so we have successfully cloned our repository first, right? So here is our output. Wait a second. So as you can see here, first of all, you can see here it's building. Okay, we have successfully cloned our repository. After that, we have successfully generated our war file. You can see using mvn package command, right? You can see our war file and our file name is target hello 1.1, right? Okay. Then after that, we have successfully build our Docker image, right? After that, we have successfully deploy this Docker image to Docker Hub, and in last we have successfully deploy this Docker image to EKS, right? Using this Jenkins pipeline. So you can see here, first of all, when we run our kubectl get ns, you can see the ns, right? Then this is our Helm chart name and so on. So you can see status deployed. Okay. Now let's go to the terminal and let's check here. Okay. So let's check our deployment and all. So first of all, let's check our pods. So run the command kubectl get pods. So as you can see our Java chart, right? My chart name is Java chart and then ready is 1 of 1. The status is running restart 0 and the name is 114 seconds. Now let's check the deployment. So run the command kubectl get deploy. So here you can see also Java chart, then ready, up to date, available and the age, right? Okay. Now let's check the kubectl get svc. Right, so you can see our svc, that means service. You can see Java chart, the type is load balancer in the cluster and the external IP. So let's access in our browser our image using this external IP. So let's copy the external IP and let's go to the browser and paste here and press enter, and let's check our image. So you can see not found, HTTP status 404 not found. Why? Because our image is in this folder. So first of all, let's go to the deployment and run the ls command. Now go to the target file and run the ls command, and our file name is here. Our image name is hello 1.1. So let's copy and let's go to our browser and enter slash and paste this image name. And now you can see our image box views. Congratulations, right? So this is our image, right? So here we have successfully deployed our Java Helm chart on EKS using Jenkins Pipeline. So thank you for watching.